Born Curtis James Jackson III on July 6, 1975, 50 Cent's early life was marked by poverty and tragedy. 50 Cent was raised in the South Jamaica neighborhood of Queens, one of New York City's boroughs. This area is known for its challenging environment marked by gang-related conflicts. Additionally, it holds the distinction of being the hometown of numerous renowned rappers, including LL Cool J and the female trio Salt and Pepper. His mother, Sabrina Jackson, was just 15 years old at the time of his birth. To provide for her son, she resorted to the drug trade, eventually rising to prominence as one of Queens' most formidable drug dealers. Sabrina was raising him alone and struggling to make ends meet. The crack epidemic was heavily taking over at the time, which made drug dealing a lucrative money grab. Drug dealing brought out the worst in Sabrina, as she became a hard-boiled woman who would not tolerate her young son exhibiting emotional vulnerability. At the age of 8, 50 Cent's childhood would change forever. His hustler mother, Sabrina Jackson, died in a tragic fire. She was just 23. It is believed that a rival drug dealer caused Sabrina's untimely passing. In an interview, 50 said, "Someone put something in her drink and turned the gas on. An unknown stranger spiked her drink, took her home unconscious, and left the gas on, killing her." The incident compelled his father to leave as well. Curtis Jackson was left under the care of his grandmother, Beulah Jackson. 50 couldn't bear to talk about his grief with others and found solace in his grandparents' basement. In order to make ends meet, he followed in the footsteps of his mother and started trading drugs by the age 12. He lied to his grandparents that he was in an after-school program when he was in fact dealing drugs. He had to fend for himself because he did not want to burden his grandmother. 50 started boxing at 11 as he wanted to defend himself against his enemies. He fought at the junior level but quit years later. At age 15, 50 Cent bought his first gun, and by 19 years old he was the neighborhood drug kingpin, bringing in about $150,000 a month. Curtis Jackson's teenage years were defined by hustling and run-ins with the law. In 1994, he was caught by an undercover police trying to sneak guns, heroin, and crack into school. His home was raided 3 weeks later. Police found crack and heroin. He was arrested and served 6 months in a boot camp where he earned a GED. After a time of reflection, he left the drug business to begin work in rap and hip-hop. Jackson adopted his nickname 50 Cent as a metaphor for change, inspired by Kelvin Martin, a 1980s Brooklyn robber known as 50 Cent. The name resonated with him, fending for himself in all ways. In 1996, a friend introduced him to Jam Master Jay of Run DMC, who was starting his music label Jam Master Jay Records. Jam Master Jay was impressed, and he was signed 50 to his label, JMJ Records. Previously, 50 recorded raps for fun in the basement of South Jamaica's DJ Ruffin's residence. His level of seriousness changed after meeting Jam Master Jay. Jay was impressed by Jackson's rapping ability and produced an album for him, but it never came out. The first official appearance of 50 Cent was in a song titled React with the group Onyx on the album Shut 'Em Down, released in 1998. 50 Cent learned a lot of lessons from Jam Master Jay before he quickly left Jam Master Jay Records and signed another deal with Columbia Records, thanks to the platinum-selling producers Trackmasters who noticed his rapping skill. 50 Cent had to prove to the world who he was. He recorded 36 records in 18 days. Trackmasters took notes on the rapper, whom they contacted to sign a contract with Columbia Records. 18 of the 36 records were included in his unofficial release album, The Power of the Dollar of 2000, a work that ended up canceled by Columbia Records. Before the album's anticipated launch, a trio of singles were released, which are Your Life's on the Line, Thug Love featuring Destiny's Child, and How to Rob. These tracks played a pivotal role in propelling 50's ascent to fame. How to Rob's lyrics detailed how he would rob particular big-name rappers and ended up attracting a lot of attention and became a major hit. The song was released at a sensitive time, a few years after the world had lost Tupac Shakur and Biggie Smalls to gun violence. Rappers like Jay-Z, Corrupt, Sticky Fingers, Big Pun, among others, responded to the song. On May 24th, 2000, shortly before Columbia Records released Power of the Dollar, a fateful event unfolded outside his grandmother's Queens home on 161st Street in Jamaica, Queens. During this incident, an assailant made a sinister attempt on 50's life. Helpless in the passenger seat of a car, he was subjected to a barrage of 9 gunshot wounds from a 9mm pistol. Bullets entered his body via his hand, arm, hip, legs, chest, and face, resulting in a permanently partially visible hole in his face. Tragically, his grandmother witnessed the brutal attack. 50 was hospitalized for 13 days and had to learn to walk again, regaining the ability to move freely after 6 weeks. The attack also left him with permanent physical disfigurements, which impacted his speech patterns and rap style. 50 Cent has always claimed the man who shot him was a low-level drug dealer who himself died 3 weeks later. But court testimony revealed that a 3-person hit squad targeted him after he wrote a disparaging song about drug kingpin Kenneth Supreme McGriff in a 2000 song called Ghetto Quran. While in the hospital recovering from his deadly wounds, 50 was dropped from his Columbia deal and included in the blacklist of the recording industry for his song Ghetto Chew Rand Quran of the Ghetto. Unable to secure a studio for recording within the United States, he embarked on a journey to Canada. Teaming up with his manager Sha Money XL, he produced over 30 tracks for the mixtapes 50 Cent is the Future, No Mercy, No Fear, and God's Plan, all of which featured Lloyd Banks, Young Buck, and Tony Yayo from his newly formed Group G Unit. The tracks were compiled on album Guess Who's Back in 2002. Much to his surprise, the mixtape garnered industry attention as well as street esteem, particularly from rapper Eminem, who declared on a radio show his admiration for 50 Cent. Eminem invited 50 Cent to Los Angeles, where he was introduced to Dr. Dre, who listened to his album and offered him a $1 million record deal. After signing a contract with Shady Records and Aftermath Entertainment, 50 Cent released the mixtape No Mercy, No Fear that included the track Wanksta, which was used by Eminem in the soundtrack of 8 Mile. Later, Dre and Eminem flew 50 Cent out to Los Angeles for a 5-day series of recording sessions that yielded 7 songs, including In Da Club. After that, anticipation for 50 Cent's official major label debut album grew. Not only did Eminem and Dre lend their hand to executive produce 50's upcoming album, but also each of them helped producing a few tracks for the 50's debut set, Get Rich or Die Tryin'. On January 7, 2003, 50 Cent, along with Shady Records and Aftermath Entertainment, released In Da Club, which became a massive hit, instantly shooting him to a worldwide stardom nearly overnight. While In Da Club dominated the radio, songs like Back Down and Many Men, which literally names the man 50 believes shot him, fed the streets. The album sold 872,000 copies in its first week of release, leading the LP to be certified gold in its first week, platinum the following week, and it was eventually certified 6 times platinum by the RIAA. But with all of the stellar sales numbers and impressive RIAA certifications Get Rich or Die Tryin' delivered, the album failed to earn him any hardware at the Grammy Awards at the beginning of 2004. The Queens rapper later pit himself commercially against an already emerged Kanye West. 50 Cent's second album, The Massacre, released in 2005, along with the G-Unit Group's Beg for Mercy, which came out later in 2003, achieved impressive first-week sales of 1.15 million and 377,000 copies, respectively. However, come 2007, his aura had started to lose its shine, particularly after he positioned himself in opposition to Kanye West and his concurrent release Graduation. This occurred as he promoted his third album, Curtis, even making the bold claim that he would retire from rap if his sales fell short of the Chicago rappers. In 2003, 50 officially established his own record label, G-Unit Records, and appointed his manager Sha Money XL as the president. The Game was signed the same year to G-Unit. The Game was an aspiring rapper from Compton, California, with impressive lyrical skills and a reputation in the underground rap scene. He had been trying to make a name for himself and had released a few mixtapes that garnered attention. The Game's mixtapes reached the hands of Dr. Dre, who recognized the Game's talent. Dr. Dre played the mixtape for 50 Cent, and he was impressed by the Game's skills and potential. This led 50 Cent to sign the Game to G-Unit Records. Under G-Unit Records, the Game released his debut album, The Documentary, in 2005, which became a massive success and solidified his position in the mainstream rap scene. The album featured collaborations with notable artists like 50 Cent, Eminem, and Dr. Dre. However, their relationship eventually turned sour. Tensions had obviously risen by the time the Game started shooting the video for his third single, Hate It or Love It, featuring 50 Cent. Word is that 50 refused to sit in the front seat of a car next to Game, instead taking a back seat. Later in 2005, 50 Cent publicly dismissed the Game from G-Unit Live during a radio interview on U.S. station Hot 97, saying he's gone. 50 said that Game should stop saying the name G-Unit. After hearing 50's comments, the Game returned to the radio station, where he was also a guest earlier that day, and attempted to enter the building. In the scuffle, one of the men accompanying Game was shot in the leg by a security guard. 50 and the rest of G-Unit left out the back door. Later that year, 50 Cent and the Game briefly reunited, but it didn't last long. G-Unit eventually ditched Game once and for all. G-Unit criticized the Game's street cred and announced that he will not be featured on any of their albums. Following his dismissal from G-Unit, the Game initiated a boycott of the group, sparking the infamous G-Unit movement. He released a diss track titled 300 Bars and Runnin', prompting a response from 50 Cent, who depicted the Game as a Mr. Potato Head doll in his music video for Piggy Bank. These songs ignited a cascade of diss tracks, each aimed at the other. In September 2006, the Game appeared to harbor regrets regarding his prior assaults on 50 Cent. During an interview with Angie Martinez, he openly expressed his desire to engage in a conversation, hoping to gauge their mutual perspectives and potentially find common ground. In a respectful plea, he urged 50 Cent to collaborate in order to reach an understanding, emphasizing the need to resolve matters maturely. Despite this overture, 50 Cent maintained a silence on his part. Game then extended his apology to Dr. Dre and Jimmy Lovin. In January 2009, Tony Yayo spoke on behalf of G-Unit when he said that they would not be accepting any apology from the Game. A week later, it was reported that the Game dissed G-Unit again at his concert in Sydney, Australia. In November that year, 50 puts the Game in his place with the release of diss tracks So Disrespectful of his Before I'd Self-Destruct album. He was less than subtle on who it was about, with lyrics including, "Come on Game, you will never be my equal. I'm what you're never gonna be / I'm in that tax bracket you never gon' see." Over the years, 50 Cent and the Game dedicated considerable attention to their mutual animosity. This animosity extended across various mediums, encompassing radio freestyles, as well as tracks featured on albums and mixtapes. As a result, the cumulative count of diss records directed at each other exceeds a staggering 100. Game tweeted 50 in November 2010 saying he was willing to end the feud, asking 50 to just pick up the phone and call. Game instigated a petition in January 2013 for G-Unit to have a reunion. He got loads of fans to sign it, but it was all for nothing. In 2014, cracks further widened in the G-Unit camp. That year, Tony Yayo said the group had officially broken up and confessed he and 50 were no longer friends. But in June of that year, G-Unit briefly reunited at the 21st Annual Summer Jam with 50, Banks, Yayo, Buck and G-Unit's newest member Kid Kid. The next day, they dropped a reunion track called Nah I'm Talking About and solidified their truce. After the 2014 reunion, G-Unit released more music, including albums, mixtapes, and singles. While they were not at the same level of mainstream success as their early years, they continued to work together to varying degrees. To date, G-Unit remained a loosely affiliated group with members occasionally collaborating on projects. However, they hadn't achieved the same level of cohesion and success as their initial years. Although he's not as active in rap as he used to back in the 2000s, 50 Cent has been keeping himself busy as an actor. He founded several companies, including SMS Audio, SK Energy, F&N Vodka, and more. He also curated the late Pop Smoke's debut album, Shoot for the Stars, Aim for the Moon, which became one of the best posthumous records that hip-hop has ever seen in the past few years. Tony Yayo hasn't released any full-length album apart from back-to-back mixtapes in the 2010s. Lloyd Banks has been going through some pretty dark times, leading up to his fall into depression in the late 2000s and the early 2010s. Fortunately, he managed to fight back and independently released his first album in 11 years, The Course of the Inevitable, in June 2021. Young Buck joined the group to fill the vacancy that Tony Yayo left due to his then ongoing legal problems. Unfortunately, his time in G-Unit wasn't too long, as he departed the group in 2008 after a feud with 50 Cent Kid, who briefly joined G-Unit amidst the group's reunion between 2014 until 2018, later left the group to focus solely on his own label, RLLNR Entertainment.